Got one person out. So VMNIC1 is that NIC right there. So we attach that adapter to a switch 1 named the production. So all virtual machines will send their traffic out that wire. Anybody that needs to connect to the virtual machine for whatever the machine's doing, DNS, web services, point of sale system, whatever company would be using, they'd be coming in on that wire. Our web interface and our SSH into the host and everything is on NIC 0, this one right here. So we've got so far those two connected. And then we created a third switch called switch 2, because computers start counting at 0, so the 2 is our third one. And we connected it, looks like, to VMNIC 3 to get to the outside world. So let's look back here at the picture. So NIC 3 is this one right here. So we've got that configured, and we also set an IP address on it, a 192.168 IP address. And that cable goes all the way and plugs into this switch right here, this Cisco 3560 switch. And this switch is not connected to the campus network. It's only connected to actually these two cables. We've not configured this one yet. 0, 1, 2. We've not configured VMNIC 2 yet. We've configured 1 for the management, 2 for the virtual machines to use, and we've configured 0 for management, 1 for the virtual machines, 3 for the iSCSI. And iSCSI is the hard drives in this server and these QNAP boxes. Those QNAP boxes right there, you're just seeing parts of them on the screen. So that's our storage, where that our virtual machines will be stored on. They'll either be stored on this server right here, or one of these boxes that has 4 hard drives each. You see the little label there, HDD. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 bays. Maybe kind of hard to see, but that's what we've been configuring. So yeah, each of those hard drive boxes in this server, they're all connected into this switch right here. This server actually has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4 or 5 cables bonded together in the Ether channel set up. So that we have, I can't remember, I think it's 5. I think I got 5 gigabit going to this system, and it's got RAID 10 chunk of hard drives in it. Pretty cool. Or maybe a RAID 0. I don't know if I did RAID 10 or RAID 0. Maybe just done a RAID 0. I forgot now how I had it set up. I guess if a hard drive fails, we'll know, because we'll lose everything. So that's cool, right? We're not production, so it won't be the end of the world if we lose everything. So let's check our setup. Everybody should log in, click your ESXi host, click on configure, click on virtual switch, and expand out to make sure our systems were set up correctly from Tuesday. So vSwitch 1 has production, connect to VMNIC 1, vSwitch 2 is connected to VMNIC 3, and should have our 192.168.1.2 IP address. So it has to be administrator at vSphere.local, Jeremiah. But you got to spell your vSphere the way you spelled vSphere. You still have csnt.edu up there.
Oh, that has to be there.
It has to be at vSphere.local the way you spelled it wrong.
I don't ever remember. Wait, how did I spell it? HP?
You put HP instead of PH. ERE.local. Joshua Main said you installed it, so
I never touched the D-Sphere. I haven't even seen it. That's why I don't know how to log into it.
you got to have the exclamation point at the end for the password. Yeah, I think that means you actually have to close down Chrome completely and reopen it.
I just need to refresh the page, and then it will boot you back into that one first page that you get things going to click on it, and you really click on that block, and it redirect you back to the TV website. So that's what happened that one day that really nice, because I discovered you want me to do.
Joshua may need to remote PC in because I don't know if Jeremiah's can get him to log in or not.
Pass 1, 2, 3, 4, and
You hear that, Jeremiah?
You've got two errors that I can tell.
What's the error?
One, you don't have an at symbol. The second one, you have an H before the P.
No,
That's how he spelled it. He misspelled it when he installed it.
Oh, he did. I got a really curiosity question. So, like, since like, so whenever my partner does something, does that link directly to mine?
Yes, every time you see your partner doing something, it's the same thing as yours. That's what we've been talking about the whole semester.
What explain why?
It's everyone from.
I need to stop asking things because I'm.
You need to ask more things. So you,
Bigger and grab these switches. Yeah, I've never been on this. Like, ever since it's been made, I've never seen it.
so it doesn't look like you have the switches made. Yeah, you got to do the port group center one. New switch, yep. That's default on that one. Add an adapter. It's the one, the MIC one. And it's production. Make sure he spells it right, everybody. He's as bad a speller as I am. That's bad. That looks correct. You spell
This is just like a strong one joke. That's what I feel like it is. I feel like y'all messing with me.
no.
No way I spelled D-Sphere wrong.
Okay, click add again. That's Joshua Main's the one that installed, but he said you installed it. So.
Like I said, I've never seen it.
So VM kernel, nope. We're doing the kernel port this time. That's the one that you can allow to. It's a new switch at 9,000 at the bottom.
Switch 9,000.
Yep.
Add again.
Yep. NIC 3. And that's iSCSI.
Yeah, I see.
I is lowercase, the rest are uppercase. SCSI. Yeah, SCSI. No. Backspace. Yeah, you got the I correct.
Okay.
S. C. S. I.
Oh. I don't know how to. Do you know how to use it good?
Yeah, all that's good. Click next. And use IP address, and you're 192. 192.168.1.69. Three 255.0. Yep. Okay. So now you got production. Now you got switch 2. That's good. I don't see Joshua Main remote PC'd in yet. So you're going to keep an eye on him to see if he's ever logging in and doing his part, if he's supposed to do something today. If he doesn't log in, then I don't know, he may have stepped off from Zoom. Yeah, that's the one he's supposed to be remote PC'd in. Everybody else have all 3 switches?
I'm working on the third one.
This first switch up here is, of course, what happened when you installed it. It's the default management. And we created the second switch and the third switch. Let's check out Andrew. You're group 6, so yeah, 66. Yeah, about 0. And then you're good there. Let's go next. Uh-oh, your MTU is wrong. Yeah. There it was. 9,000. Not 90. There you go. Now you should be able to next all the way through. Everything else should be kept. So we'll rediscuss that configuration when we get to networking portion. But that 9,000 MTU is set on the, it's like a global switch command. And then you also got to set what port to use on 9,000 too. So that it's actually set on 2 places, something called the kernel port, which the IP is actually connected to. So the IP address is allowed 9,000 jumbo frames. The virtual switch we created is globally allowed 9,000. So that means traffic coming in and out of this port now can be larger than normal. Went into the command line of the Cisco switch and enabled it globally on here so that it'll support 9,000 and not drop them as normal per the Ethernet standard. And then also on this server and these QNAP boxes, I went in and bumped the MTU up to 9,000 on them too. That allows you to send more data per packet being generated. Each packet has to have like an interrupt. It has to interrupt every time it has to build a frame. So the bigger frame, the less you're interrupting and causing some lag or whatever into the stream. Better throughput of data. And plus, you all studied frames, right? They have source, destination, MAC address, and source, destination, IP, and all that added to it that takes up space. So if the data that it's hauling can be larger, you can get a lot more through at a time. How about cars driving to work in Little Rock and 1 person on each car? What if they had buses? It'd be a whole lot less cars. If they had a bus and could put 80 people per bus, it'd be a lot less traffic. So that's sort of what we're doing. Instead of hauling 1 person, 1,000 people in individual cars, 1 at a time to the destination, where we got a bus and loaded them all up at once, sending them off. So that's pretty cool. So we got that all set up. We found out that when we installed it, for some reason didn't use all of the hard disk space. It left some legacy partitions used. So we weren't able to start installing our virtual machines on our local drive. That really kind of sucks because we're supposed to actually install virtual machines on the local hard disk and move it around. But I'll have to remember when we get to the end of the semester to completely tear down your servers and use gparted and destroy all of those partitions off y'all servers. You're going to remind me that at the end, right?
No.
It's a long time from now. Okay. So everybody's got this switch 2, and we've got this IP address. Now we need to connect to those NAS boxes. We kind of need to pre-configure some stuff though. We got stuff broken and I need to log on to another system. That's interesting. It loads slow.
Yeah, let's figure it out.
Sean, are you watching? Sean loves this. That boots up so fast. Okay, so I guess we'll do this for the people in class since it'll be easier to see all of this and type. Click on your ESX host. Click on storage adapters. So I'm under the ESX host, I'm under configure. You should have been here already because you should have been looking up your virtual switches. Then click on storage adapters. So these storage adapters list the adapters that connect to external storage across things like something called Fiber Channel or iSCSI, Fiber Channel over Ethernet, stuff like that. Some of these adapters can be $500, $600, $700 a piece because they've got a full operating system on them and a BIOS that has control of external connections. We're not that lucky. We don't have that kind of money, but you can have things that you actually have to do during the post of the server to make connections to external storage. We're cheap. We just have regular network adapters and we create something called a software adapter. So it's going to have to be controlled by the Linux kernel and connect to the external. And right now we don't have one created. These here are internal SAS RAID controllers and connections to like I don't think they got CD-ROMs in them, but there's some SATA ports on the system. That SD card slot that's on the motherboard is probably one of these up here. Yeah, SATA IDE controller, 4 ports on it, and then the RAID controllers up there. But I have nothing up here for connecting to external storage. Plus, we're going to use VMNIC 3, that switch 2 we created, put the IP address on. I'm going to use that as a software-based adapter to connect to the storage. So click Add Adapter. And this will be for people in class. Remote people can watch. and watch McGuire. So it gives you a lot of options here to add a software iSCSI adapter and a whole lot of stuff to fill out, right? Actually, there's only stuff to fill out if you're adding a fiber channel over Ethernet adapter, but there's nothing to fill out for iSCSI. You just click next or OK. Ta-da, you created an iSCSI adapter. Isn't that pretty cool? Go and click on the iSCSI adapter that was just created. Should be VMHBA, and depending on the version, there's a weird number at the end of it. So once that you highlight that, we got to associate it with an actual network adapter, but let's try to fix something. I think it's still probably going to need a reboot. But before you attach it to a port binding, we'll stay on VMHBA 66. Down at the bottom, there'll be a properties that are automatically highlighted. And what you'll see in the list, you'll see it's enabled. You'll see the VMHBA 65. You'll see it's an iSCSI software adapter. And then you'll see the iSCSI name. You'll have to memorize how this is formulated on a test way on down the road, but not today. But you see you have an IQN 1998. We have VMware written backwards. You should have your ESX group number with the dash, and you should have some numbers at the end of it. Those numbers at the end of it are randomly generated, and those are what we have to get fixed. Why do we have to fix those? Because I used access control list to lock out what you can actually see on the NAS, and the access control list are based on that IQN number. So I created those years and years ago, and every time you reinstall it, it re-randomizes those. I didn't realize that. I thought it pulled some type of hardware number off the adapter, but it doesn't. So we got to change that number to match what I set up like 8 years ago. And that way you can see all the hard drives on this external storage. So what I need you to do is click on edit, I guess it is. Yeah, so when you click on edit, it pops up and it shows you the IQN.
Is this still for in-class people?
Yeah, this we're in class. So Andrew, you got this? You found it? Okay.
That was Jeremiah.
Okay. So let me show you what you need to change. I have to come in here and find the numbers on this box. So see, I've clicked on iSCSI up here. There's Advanced Access Control List, ACLs. And this is why I wanted the in-class people, because I can zoom in on the projector screen. Okay, so this is going to be for group 6. So you ready, Andrew? So there's yours.
Am I just removing everything after ESX6 dash?
Yep. Well, as long as it's not 3DF77 or 7598D, if it's something else, which it probably is. Let me look at your screen here. So, yep. So you backspace everything to the dash, and you're going to put in. So that is 3. D as in Delta, F as in Foxtrot, 7598, D as in Delta. So let me We can compare 3DF7. Uh-oh. Maybe. Yep. Actually, I can't see both at the same time, but yeah, 3DF7598D. That looks good. I'll click OK. Okay, group 8. No, group, yeah, let's go to group, no. Who's group 8? You're group 8. Sweet. Yeah, you just need ESX8 there. That used to be my server. So it's super easy. It didn't have the randomness at the end. Okay, well, lucky for group 8. Okay, group 5, that's McGuire? Or who? What? You? Okay. So you got the, what was it? 4A713170?
Yeah.
Okay, group 7. Who's group 7? That's William. William Wortham. You got it? Do you see this? Where you got 775798 0B. Is in Bravo? Yep. Okay, so just click OK on that. And then group 9. That's Jeremiah. So we got 4F as in Foxtrot, 301, E as in Echo, D as in Delta, and the 6. Okay, looks good. Click OK. Right, go back and look at yours. Let me look at yours again. 4F30. Okay. 4F30. Yep. That looks good. Now the other people are like, where's mine at? Well, you weren't associated with this one. You're associated with QNAP 1. Thank you. Okay, so group 1, that's Jared. So what do you have? You have to change yours to 1CA15F79 at the end. And group 2, there's McGuire. So you got 6F6F1C13. And group 3, that's you, Paul. You got 458 0 D2FF. And then group 4. What?
458
Yeah, 4580 D2FF. And then Matthew
I already did mine and Paul's.
York. I think Alex said he did it. Is that Alex? I don't know, it don't hurt, I guess. But yeah, so you got 301C7 BCF. Bravo Charlie Foxtrot. Should be the Doom gun. Bravo Foxtrot Golf. But no, yeah, BCF. Everybody got it? Okay, I'm gonna go and close this out. those allow you to see some 20 gig drives on those systems for later labs. Otherwise, you won't be able to have those extra little drives to play with and format when we get to that section later on. And it's just good to do that at the beginning of the semester when we first started up. So I think that's going to require a reboot on the systems, but let's test out what's going to need to be required. All right, so the next step that you have to do now, you have to click on network port binding. It's down towards the bottom part, same where the properties tab was on. So you click on network port binding. This is the actual physical adapter that this software iSCSI is connected to. And you got to attach the software and the RAM attached to the physical device so it can send the iSCSI protocol across the physical network. You got to click the add button here. And it should show you some things called VM kernel ports. And there's 2 of them that are available. Although you don't want to run the management network, you don't want to use it as your connection to the hard drives. But you do have your iSCSI. It shows up in the list because we created something called a kernel port. We got an IP address on it. You have to have an IP address to connect to things. So that's why we picked iSCSI. And it should pop up and say it's compliant. Sweet. So you can go and hit OK. Neat. So that is connected. The next thing we want to do, there's a 2 different discovery methods, dynamic and static. We want to go to dynamic. We want to add in the IP addresses of, so this I'm going to make both people do, local and remote. So right now, local people can do this, and then we're going to have the remote people do the next part. So if you're remoted in, so the iSCSI server is going to put in IP addresses. We'll do it one at a time just to make sure, but the local people are going to do a 192.168.1.52. And if you have a remote partner, Paul.
I don't know if that was because both of us didn't say, but I got a error for the kernel.
It's showing up okay, so I think y'all both tried to do it at the same time. That's probably what happened. It didn't hurt anything. And it looks like,
What did you click to get to the target for this thing?
so that is under, so click your dynamic discovery. Just down a little bit. There, yeah, and click add. Yep. Port's correct. Okay, I want the remote people. I want the remote people to add in the 192.168.1.53, and I want the remote people to add in the 192.168.1.60. So if you're remote, do both of those. I don't see Joshua Main logged in, so So I guess you do all three of them, Jeremiah.
Baseboard.
And Riley Hicks, your partner's not here today, so you do all three of them.
I use a baseboard as well.
Yep. Yeah, the port number is the default for the iSCSI. So
Where do I put those in at? Because I can't find it. Or see it on my screen.
okay, so you'll have to scroll down a little bit on your screen. And see your, okay, that other scroll bar just to the left. No, there's like 2 pixels to the left of the one you were just on. You have to scroll up in your list and click on your adapter.
Oh,
Yeah, that VMHBA soft iSCSI, that top one. Yeah, you got to click on that. Got to click on Dynamic Discovery. Yours is abbreviated there. And then you got to click on Add. And there's where you put your IP addresses in. So that was, so you're putting in 192.168.1.53. And you have to hit your tab key until you can get down and see the OK button.
and then the other one.
Yep, add again. And you'll be putting in the 192.168.1.60. Let's see if we can fix the size. So if you're having sizing issues, like James Heifel here, you might be able to switch over to like basic session instead of enhanced session. And I don't know if I can switch back. It will tell me. If I can update the screen resolution for an enhanced session. So the screen resolution is not great for viewing. Let's see if it'll let me change it. So that's locking that part out. Yeah, you can. Can't be changed from a remote session.
And because I'm having to have 2 windows open and I'm having to squint the whole time.
If you close out this and then reopen it, you can change the display resolution.
Somebody talked, but I couldn't hear him.
I said that if you close out of the session, close the virtual machine.
It'll ask when it opened, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. If you close that, we reconnect, it's going to ask. So right here at this size, you want to do 1280 by 1024 will be your best resolution to see everything. The 768 height doesn't let you see everything to click on. There you go. What VC were you? VC6?
Yes, VC6A.
So in this resolution, your dialog boxes, you'll be able to see the OK buttons and everything. So now like that dynamic discovery, if you can see everything on the screen. That'll make it easier, probably. Okay, so we got all of those added in. Rescan. Little warning up there. So if you notice there's a couple of rescans up there, go and click on both rescans and just OK on the rescans. I'm going to check something to see if we need a reboot or not. Yep. Wait, I think click rescan. I don't think I remember seeing that pop up on your screen, Magar. I didn't see it down in the list. Yeah, the rescan actually has to be done. Actually, both of them, rescan adapter and rescan HBA. Okay, now when your rescan is done, you can click the storage devices, and you should have more than just 130 something gig local disk attached. You should have a couple of 900 gig disks. Yeah, why do you have 20 gig disk? That shouldn't be connected.
I have 220, well, 320 gig discs.
I have 4 of them. I have 4 of them as well.
4 of them would be okay.
Trace.
I have 4.
1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. We don't have to do a reboot. That's nice. That's what I was looking to see. If the I was thinking maybe if we change the alias before we attach to the adapter, we wouldn't have to reboot, and apparently that's the case. Or maybe something new with 7.0. It updated. Most time in the past we always had to reboot. So that's what I was looking at to see the 4. So there's no reboot required. As long as you see the 900 and you got some 20 gigs in there, it may slowly populate. Now you've got 420 gigs. Yeah, so you have to do the rescan, both rescans.
I have about 1.28 terabytes.
What was that?
Oh, I have a 1.28 terabytes.
Yep. And you got the others too. Screw, you should have a 900.
I've got 900 on
Yep.
one.
And an 800 gig, 890 something, or yep.
I didn't see this one, this button here. I just had rescan the storage.
Okay, it looks like it's you or your partner. It's okay if everybody clicked the thing. Cool. So pre-configured, I got a couple of almost terabytes and a little bit over terabyte storage areas that we can use to create virtual machines and stuff on. If you remember last time, when you click the data store button, go ahead and click the data store button now and see that's where we got our NFS library. We also had our data store 1, which turned out it was only allowing us to see a small percentage of the 100-something gig drives we had in our systems. But now we've got share 1, share 2, and share 3 connected. You should. And those are nearly a terabyte, each one of them.
My share group is inaccessible.
Inaccessible. You're 192.168.1.69, right? Yeah. I don't see why that you would be inaccessible. This is this. That's number 5. It's 168.1.69. Oh, logged out. PC 9. Does everybody else show accessible for everything on theirs? Inaccessible. Let's take a break while I'll try to figure out what's going on with Jeremiah's. I don't see anything. He sees the other two, but he can't see that one. $100. 20s are in there. Fixed. How do you steal Ashley?
You just need that administration over there.
Permanently or just for a little bit?
I don't know. I'm assuming probably permanent.
Okay, so I'm back. So our whole goal is we needed a place to put virtual machines on because that was the lab we were trying to start on Tuesday. And create a virtual machine, and then we figured out there wasn't any storage space anywhere to create a virtual machine on. Okay, I think we can now create a virtual machine. We wanted to install ESX into a virtual machine. So this would be everybody. We'll get to re-see the installation options of installing ESXi server. I think that's good for this class since half the class did not get to install it. And if everybody just reinstalls again, we're not going to reinstall on the physical machine. We're going to create a virtual machine and install the Hyper-V inside of the virtual machine. So in that case, everybody needs to be either on hosting clusters view or VMs and templates. And you'll need to be right-clicking either a data center or a host, and you'll be creating a new virtual machine. You can right click on a lot of stuff and get a new virtual machine.
On the ESX5 or anything?
Yeah, just on the data center or under the folder for VMs and templates. There's a lot of places you can right click and get to that.
Doesn't matter where you right click and you create a virtual machine, you will all just.
Well, you got to like right click the data center or the VM and templates folder or the ESXi host. If you find if it says new virtual machine, you can click on it. Because it will run this dialog box and ask you where to put it when the wizard comes up. So if a right click somewhere gives you that option, then new virtual machine wizard will work. And typically you're either right clicking on the ESXi host itself, or you're in VMs and templates and you're right clicking on the folder you're wanting it to place in. That's normally where you would instinctively go to do it. But I think you can even right click on the vCenter server, maybe in new virtual machine. I'm not sure. So with the new virtual machine wizard, we're going to create a new virtual machine and go next. And the virtual machine name, we're attempting this again. If you remember, we used our last name, a group number, and -empty. That was what the lab was semi wanting us to do.
You want to make sure that they're line system.
That he spells it correctly?
Yeah.
Yeah, he can misspell his last name if he wants to. It's okay. I'm going to pretend I'm in group 2. They wanted Windows 10 empty, I think, but we're using our last name, group number, and empty. So anytime that you're maybe running through the lab, creating a virtual machine, always use your last name number at the first part before the dash. Normally you keep whatever's after the dash. That way they're unique between everybody. Select the location for the virtual machine. I'm going to expand this out and see. We got 2 folders we can place them in. One of them's a template folder, one of them's lab virtual machines. So you place it in lab virtual machines. You only put stuff in the templates folder if you're right clicking something and converting it to a template and it's asking it where do you want it to go. Okay. Our location is selected. Your last name with your group followed by dash and empty should be typed in. And we're going on to the next one. Our compute resource should only be one probably in your list, already highlighted. Be your ESX host. That's an easy one. You don't have much choice there. On the next page, we got 3 data stores to choose from. Let's do group 1, 2, and 3. We'll do share 1, 4, 5, and 6. Y'all click on share 2, and 7, 8, and 9. Y'all click on share 3. That'll spread the workload out and speed things along. Compatibility. Can't click on the others. So this lab, we created a last name, group number with dash empty. Compatibility, it says select ESX 7.0. Cool. We're not doing the Windows though. All right, so at this option, why would you want to pick something older? If you have older versions of VMware running in your data center, and you might possibly at some point in time need to move that virtual machine over to an older system, you'd pick an older version. Okay, so 7.0, the
You want that to be 7.0 later, not 3.5?
so I wanted it 7.0. That's what they set us to use 7.0. I'm trying to follow as best I can with what we need to change for. The guest operating system is going to be other, and it's going to be ESX 7 or later. It's not supported. That's okay. They're not going to help you with that because they don't support it being installed on the VM, but it actually works. So we're good with that. Just if we have to call technical support, they're going to laugh at us and go, no. You're doing lab work. We don't help you with labs. Okay, so everybody got that other in VMware ESX 7?
You don't have a yellow box, you
Yeah, if you don't have the yellow box, you didn't do it right. What? Yes.
So my template didn't show up, and then when did we do the share 3? Did we do that beginning of the call?
Share 3?
Yeah.
Yeah, we did it right before break. Did you have any of the shares?
I had share 1 and 2.
Interesting.
But my template didn't show up either, so I don't know.
So what
I did that one last week.
Oh well, You can use one of the other shares. You should pick share 2. Okay, that'll work. We'll figure out your share 3 later. Okay, so I'm going to go next to customize the hardware. Yes, we want to customize hardware. So that's pretty cool. It says 2 CPUs, 4 gig of RAM, hard disk size is 40. That's pretty good. But the hard disk size, I always like to expand the hard disk out. And I like to change it off of the default of thick provisioning, lazy zeroed, to thin provisioning. Otherwise, our data stores will get filled up too fast. So I'll always go in and modify that when I'm creating a new virtual machine. Most others like Hyper-V, the defaults to dynamic. VirtualBox defaults to, I don't know what they call it, thin, dynamic, auto, I don't know. VMware calls it thin provisioning for the dynamic sizing of the hard disk. And they default to, no, make a file 40 gig in size instantly. I don't like that. So that's one quirk with VMware that you have to specify. You want the thin provisioning. So once you've got thin provisioning set, everything else. Now there's one other thing. The installation media. So let's scroll down. I see we're connected to the production network, which is good. But down here we've got new CD, DVD drive. We need to expand that out. And we don't want it to be a client device. We want it to be a data store ISO file. And it'll pop up. And where are our ISOs at? No? In the library. Good. So in the library, wonder what folder they could be in. ISO folder. Okay, so we're going to find the Vimvisor installer 7.0. It's at the bottom. This lab wanted us to create a virtual machine and I think install Windows 10 and delete it. So we're going to install Hypervisor and delete it. Sounds fun. We'll install Linux later and actually have something we use, but at least for now, this gives everybody a chance to reinstall and see ESXi being installed. So click on OK. And that's the only 2 things. We changed the disk to be thin provisioning and we attached the CD-ROM from our NFS library. We can go and click next. Thin provisioning, yes. So on the ready to complete, everything looks cool. Finish it up. And as you finish it out, you'll see your partners pop on the screen. So the next step, you go ahead and right click on it and open remote console. You should get an option. You always want to open with remote console, a little drop down button. It may or may not pop on the screen. It may form a little icon, arrow, orange arrow in your taskbar. You may have to click on it, or it may pop up on your screen like mine.
Mr. Goodman, can you click on it for me because I can't see it?
see.
My internet's starting to.
Oh, there we go. Takes it a little bit to show up. You clicked on the wrong. Okay. So when it comes up, you're going to click the green play button and see what happens. What? Oh, it says no media. So if your mouse gets caught inside the window, you may have to hit your left Control-Alt keys and your mouse will come free. So for some, it didn't auto connect it. So I'm going to use my little VMRC menu here and tell it to connect. And then I'm going to restart the guest operating system.
Wait, what'd you say? Control-Alt?
I think. Let's check on. Yeah, just go down to VMware Virtual ID. Let me take control here, James Highfull. So CD-ROM.
Okay.
You got to go that. And you Control-Alt-Delete. There we go.
I'm sorry, my internet is making my screen really, really blurry.
Let's check out Brian. Brian in the next room? Is he from home? So am I remote controlling? So Brian, you've got to do your CD-ROM, and what we didn't do, data store, ISO. So people 104, is Brian working remote or is he in 104? Is he next door? We should have hit this little checkbox right there, connect the power on. Did you do thin? Yeah, you did thin. That's what he missed.
He's in here.
Heard something from next door, but it's too quick. There you go, Brian. You got your control back. Right click and connect to your VM and start it up. So just go and run through the install VSX7. Look at all the, you'll have to click inside the window to be able to navigate and use your keyboard to answer the questions. The mouse doesn't work. Again, to release your mouse, if you have to click on something outside the window, the left Control Alt key on the keyboard is the keys that are mapped to release it. We have no custom stuff to do, so just watch the screen on how to do a straight install. Yeah, it's because running is virtual. That's okay. You've had some issues with it? Yeah, you tapped a couple of extra.
Would you say Control Alt C to touch the screen?
Just your Control Alt if you need to get your mouse out of there, but for now you just need to keep your mouse in there and go through the like hit F11 to continue.
For HS 224 and an interim session. So I'll go ahead and knock the hot work.
I don't know if you can see what the hit there, James. It says hit F11 to continue.
Yeah, I'm clicking on it, but I'm clicking F11, but I won't.
Are you clicking or are you hitting it on your keyboard?
I'm hitting it on my keyboard.
I hit F11 for you. I don't know. Are you? You must not be here in 104. You must be home.
Well, looks like it's gonna let me. It's gonna let me take it.
Yes.
Yep.
Is it?
That's the internet slowdown. It's hard to do it from home.
I mean, that's let me go over here for English.
So if you hit enter, does it go forward now? Okay.
I'll probably, I was gonna kind of, today I was gonna knock some of this stuff out, so I may just go ahead and do that. So.
Let's see, I see Bethany's on the blue screen. What's going on there? So Bethany, it's probably because your CD is not attached. We had to go to the VMRC menu and attach the CD-ROM. Or go to removable devices. And yeah, the CD-ROM doesn't have a check beside it. So if you go over to it, you have to go up a little bit above network, go to, yeah, you have to click connect the ISO. We forgot to put the checkbox when we connected it. And then there you got the little Control Alt Delete icon that you can click and it'll reboot and boot off the CD. Do you do that too, Jeremiah? You haven't connected. Yeah, you should have been watching all the other people that we've been fixing on that. You got to go to VMRC and connect the CD-ROM, and then hit the Control Alt Delete button.
Oh, I thought this was the right spot. I thought mine automatically did it. I remember you said that.
And then click your little Control Alt Delete button. And then it'll go to the installer.
Does this say to confirm the installation, I need to click F11
Yes.
or type?
That 11's not working. You're not using the web connection. You're using the desktop connection with remote PC, right? It's almost like you're using the web connection. It doesn't accept all the keyboard keys.
It's installing now.
Yeah, I hit F11 on there, but
Yeah, okay.
yeah, remote PC, if you click the one that's like the little globe, your keyboard doesn't work. Half the keys don't work. You have to make sure you click the desktop connection. It's acting like you clicked the globe using the web.
Okay, I'm not sure if I clicked the globe or the desktop. I probably clicked the globe then.
Okay, y'all can coming up to break, y'all can finish it, getting it installed, and basically this screen right here, y'all can play with the F2 direct command line user interface, look around, pair it up, do whatever you want. We're going to delete it after we come back from our next break. So we got break time again. Huh? Yeah. Oh yeah, that's just a power supply warning. Yeah, it's nothing. DACP's randomly named it.
Huh?
DACP randomly named it. Couldn't have been 01.
And then when you go over here to my data center and stuff.
Mhm. Let's look. So lab templates is over here. Got lab VMs, but lab templates is not there. Weird. I don't know. It's just new. The top lab templates there and okay. Yeah. I don't know. Okay, let me look at why you don't have 3. Maybe it's the same thing Jeremiah ran into. So for some reason not accessible. I don't know why that's not accessible. Just had to tell it to mount. Maybe it's too many people try to connect at the exact same time. That That's different. Your switches are reversed, but that's okay. VM3, they're just created different order. VM, like switch 1 is Ross SCSI, switch 2. As long as the production's connected to 1, that's good. That's the right IP address connected to that. So what is going on? Hmm. Oh, look, it found it. There's how to tell to rescan again. Yeah, I just did it another fix it the second time. Weird. Even not the address last semester, so I get back to whatever computer has last semester. Onto the number for them. You say, no, you're infected.
So I know you're wanting us to delete it, what if we do, if that's part of it? You think?
Maybe. VMware wants me to explain to you how to delete virtual machines. Part of their training, because it is a little unique than other hypervisors. Yeah. There's two options for making it not appear anymore. And they want me to explain it to you, not just actually follow the steps and do it. They want me to talk about the other options that you have besides just delete. They do want you to expand out the data store. Well, maybe not that. We'll look at stuff after break. But they want you to visually see some crap. Oh, it told us we don't install anything. Well, we installed it. We didn't need to save time. Yeah, let's checking yours out, John. Hey, where'd it go? Did it minimize it? You must have clicked on something. You have control back. Apparently the VMware Tools legacy didn't come. You have to read a knowledge base on how to get it and install it. And nobody cares about 98. Okay, maybe a few people. So as you're coming back from class off a break, I said you can play with the hypervisor, look at the F2 if you want to. Look at the menus and stuff. If you need to play around with it. But once you're done investigating the menu screen, use your left control keys to get your mouse outside the window, and you can close down the remote console. You'll play around, and once you've closed it down, that'll key me in that you're done playing around with it. What? Yeah, it was the previous computer. It was attached to that IP address from last semester, or maybe 2 semesters ago. Yeah, it looks like most people's got theirs just about played with. They want you to click on the summary. Click on the summary and view all the hardware panels and stuff. You may have to expand out the little panels and view the information about the hardware settings. Some of the hardware settings that the lab wanted you to note was information about the hard disk, the backing, the capacity, and if it's been provisioned or not. So I'm looking on my summary tab. One of those things would be this. I've got a hardware block that's minimized. I'll hit the down arrow and it'll expand out the hardware block. That allows me to see information. One of them was like the hard disk. We've got 40 gig capacity. It's been provisioned. And the backing is, mine's on Share 01. That's what it talks about, the backing, what data store is actually backing the storage of that. You can also note at the top of the screen, the storage usage is 4 gig out of the total 40 gig capacity. Something else to make note of is we can actually go look at the files on the hard disk. So if I go to my data store, and you go to the data store that's backing it because you just looked and seen what data store it was on, hopefully. You can view the files in folders of that data store and go find that your folder. Interesting. I'm playing around. How about file view filter? Filter on that. The HTML5 interface is missing a folder I'd like to see. A column I'd like to see. So the Flash-based interface would add in another column that show the provision size. So this disk right here that's provisioned for 40 gigabytes would have a column over here that said that it could grow up to 40 gig. It's missing that in the HTML5 interface. That was pretty cool visuals. But I'm using 4 gigs. So it looks like now that the lab wanted to be on the summary tab and look at stuff, but so you can look at all the files and file extensions. We'll talk about all of these pretty soon. So the new version was be on your virtual machine, look at your hard disk, and you see 40 gig thin provisioning, and then you got to look up here how much is it using total. But I did like the other interface. I like that when you looked at the data store, you could visually see what the files could grow up to. But they've got that column missing. Hey, they make progress. Sometimes they take away features you really wanted. Okay, so at this point in time, the lab wanted us to delete a virtual machine. Before you can delete a virtual machine, it must be powered off. So you can right click on your virtual machine. There's a couple ways to power off. You can shut down the guest operating system, or you could just forcibly like turn the power switch off to it. Let's do the shutdown guest OS and see if it works. It says this guest OS is not supported, so it might not be able to talk to it directly. But we'll see. And that's supposed to be like a momentary power press, or if it's a Windows machine, it should send the Windows shutdown command to the system. So I told it to initiate a guest OS shutdown. And it did. It powered it off. I had hit my refresh button and it told it to be powered off. Now deleting is pretty simple. It said right click and click delete, but they want me to talk a little bit about deleting stuff. I know that's their intention. If you right click your virtual machine, you can power it back on, you can customize the guest, take snapshots, migrate, clone things to templates and stuff. There's fault tolerance. Edit the hardware settings to add more RAM, more CPU, add other CD-ROMs, network adapters and stuff to it. Rename it. Renaming is something that doesn't change the folder name it's in. It's not too cool to rename it. You can rename it and then migrate it from one data store to another, and it'll fix the folder name only if you move it from one storage device to another. So renaming is kind of a tricky thing.
If you move it and then move it back, will it still have the new name?
Yes. Yeah, so once you rename it, you can move it and then move it back, and it'll, as long as it's moved once, the folder will be updated with the new name and stay that way. So you can continuously move it and it'll be the new name. So moving down here, so down here at the delete options, I've noticed I've got little lines here to kind of separate out main sections of commands that you can do. You come down to the bottom, there's a line and there's delete and remove from inventory are both together. So they wanted me to discuss that. Remove from inventory just removes the directory listing of it in here. It's still on the hard drive if you remove it from inventory. So no files are deleted if you remove from inventory. Just the vCenter server database removes it out of its database, so it no longer appears in the list. You can go browse the data store, find the folder, and reattach it. Re-import it into the inventory so I can boot it and mess with it again. Removing from inventory is good if you like want to maybe take a data store to some other location and then attach it to somebody else's data center and then import them or add them all to that inventory and boot them up. So it's maybe one option. Or maybe you've archived some. We've got an email server that we have to keep for, I think, 5 years, 5 or 10 years, something like that. There's a legal requirement that if somebody sues and they request emails between certain people, there's somewhere between a 5 and 10 year range that you have to keep an email server for legal purposes. So we do have an email server that was a virtual machine, and it's been shut down and removed from inventory, so it can't accidentally be booted up unless law enforcement requests it. Not law enforcement, that'd be a court subpoena for that. So that's some maybe things you need to remove from inventory for. And then delete from disk. That's destructive. It deletes all the files and deletes the folder if you delete it from disk. Hyper-V, you remember we installed the read-only and then we deleted the virtual machine? What happened to the hard disk? It stayed there, didn't it? We were able to clone and make differencing disks and stuff off of it. So virtual VMware here, delete from disk, it deletes everything. All the files and folder, VMDK file, the hard disk file. And that's what it wants us to do. It wants us to delete from disk and make sure, confirming that you're deleting your virtual machine. It shows your name that you're deleting in the dialog box. So I've got Goodman up there. I'm deleting mine. Click yes. Awesome. You created a virtual machine and you deleted a virtual machine. You also installed an OS on there.
Do you want us to delete from this or
Delete from disk. There will be future labs where you remove from inventory and then go find it and add it back in. Should be future labs on that anyway. Task 4, installing VMware tools. I don't really think we need to do a lab on this. Use a menu and the VM menu, like some of you had to attach your CD-ROM. You go under there and click the option to install VMware tools. You go into Windows and open up the CD-ROM that's in the File Explorer window and run the setup program. Click next, 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 finish, and then you're done. I don't think we need to do a lab on that. But instead of that, I think I want to insert a lab of installing Linux. Sounds fun. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's install a CentOS machine. Let's go ahead and create a run a new virtual machine wizard. So new virtual machine wizard, creating a new virtual machine. And we'll go next. We'll keep the naming convention of our last name and group number. And the dash, this will be our first virtual machine. So we'll put dash, we'll put 01 for our first virtual machine that we're installing. The first one is going to hang around with us for a little bit anyway. So go and expand out the location, put it in the lab VMs folder. We'll go ahead and go next. And we'll pick our compute resource right there, ESX2. Go ahead next to that. Has it asked if the OS yet? Okay, selecting a guest OS. Okay. Where do we want to put it? So what do I say? 1, 2, and 3 is share 1. 4, 5, and 6 is share 2, and 7, 8, 9. Y'all should now all see share 3 to be able to put it on. So y'all use share 3. So I'll go next. We'll make it compatible. We'll change this option. We'll put it down to, let's do 6, 7, update 2, and later. That will allow us an option in the future to upgrade the hardware. Just go through that process. If it's a lab or not a lab, we'll be able to run a upgrade hardware process. Okay, so I'm going to go next. We're going to be Linux. Look at all those Linux systems. It's not something that's run as a server. You would have to pick an other if you wanted Kali. Pick the kernel. Although they don't have 5 down there. Well, they have 4 later. We're installing CentOS 8. Is that in the list? It is. Sweet. It's also only allowed to pick 64-bit because, well, CentOS 8 only comes in 64-bit, so that's pretty cool. Version 6 supported 32 or 64. That'd be a huge difference picking between those two. But CentOS 8, pretty cool. Give us one option. That right there will auto choose the correct network adapter and controller cards and stuff to include with it. If I go next here, 1 CPU, 2 gig of RAM, sounds pretty good. 16 gig hard drive. Let's back that down to 14 gig. What? CentOS 8. So yeah, we're going to back the hard drive down to 14. There'll be a lab, or if there's not one, we'll do a lab to how to increase that size. And then how to go into the guest operating system and get the file system to expand into free space. So we're making it a little bit smaller than, so we can grow it in the future. The SCSI controller is a VMware Pair virtualized adapter. It's a custom VMware driver for accessing storage. If you're running Windows, they would probably pick like a LSI Logic or something like that. But since we picked CentOS 8, VMware already knows that it is shipped with all of their drivers included with the operating system. So they can go ahead and use the faster VMware built drivers for any machine being installed in a VMware environment. If you wanted to make this thing portable and maybe convert the hard disk and ship it off to somebody running VirtualBox or somebody running Hyper-V, you would want to not use the VMware proprietary stuff. Connected to the production network, CD-ROM. Oh yeah, the hard disk. We got to expand out. Remember, we always need to change it to thin. So I updated the thin provisioning. I'm going to collapse that back down. The CD-ROM, we need to connect it to an ISO store, and we'll do a little bit better this time. Connect it to a data store ISO file. Where are our ISOs again? NFS library. Wow, how'd you know we had to click CentOS 8? You're using critical thinking skills. That's good. Great guess. So ISO, CentOS 8. And what we're going to do different this time, we're actually going to pick the little checkbox to connect it at power on so that it will actually go straight to it and try to boot. We don't have to connect it and restart our system like we did last time. Something else I wanted to point out, if we expand out our network, the adapter type is VMXNet 3. That is also a VMware proprietary adapter. Again, if you're installing Windows, it would be an E1000. If it's a 64-bit version of Windows, it'd be an E1000 card put in there. It simulates an Intel adapter. Limits you to gigabit speed. But since it did detect, we click CentOS 8 and they know, yeah, CentOS, they put all the VMware kernel drivers, into Linux kernel. They auto defaulted to the faster adapter. So I just wanted to point that out, that's E1000 is very common. It's a Intel gigabit adapter that almost every operating system, I know every 64-bit OS has the driver built in. It's so popular. Okay, so I think that's all the stuff I wanted to point out. So I'll see we got the checkbox, the data store ISO, it's connected now at power on. That's a good thing. So we can go and click next. And finish. I'm going to go ahead and connect to the virtual machine and start it up and start the installation of CentOS 8.
Do you right click the virtual machine?
You right click and click open console, open virtual machine console. So should be a picture of you're right clicking the host. You got to right click HIFL, right click a virtual machine and open a remote console. And you got to click the open VMware, that dollar box pops up. Okay, when you click the green play button, it should just auto boot to the installer. It goes to test media. You can click in there and you don't need to test the media. You can hit that arrow key to just go straight to the installer. You do have to click in the window to be able to use your keyboard and stuff. Once it loads to the graphical screen, you'll notice that your mouse gets returned back to you and you can move it in and outside the window because the drivers, I think it does that during the install. I think it's pretty early on it detects we're in a virtual machine. That's why I prefer installing Linux than Windows, because the mouse works really fast out of the box. The drivers are pre in the system.
So you telling me that the system thinks outside the box?
Yep. At least CentOS 8. I don't know that 7 does, but I know 8 does. 8 has the drivers.
I think 7 we had to install them.
Yeah, 7 I believe you have to install. Well, when y'all installed 7, you run it probably in, I don't know if you run it in Hyper-V or VirtualBox. Yeah. So VirtualBox is different. Yeah. VirtualBox is different than Hyper-V. So the VirtualBox tools is different than VMware tools. But it's the same concept. Exact same concept. Let's see what Brian's got. A blue screen. Your CD-ROM's not connected. You must have missed the checkbox. I'm going to take over. Control-Alt, your left Control-Alt gets you free. See what's happened to his. Yeah. There you go. Now you can click back in the screen. Use your up arrow key to select install.
Did I select the wrong one?
Let's see here. Now yours is booting into the installation.
Oh, it's just still booting up.
Yep. I think so. You clicked on check instead of hitting the up arrow to go to straight to install. But yeah, it's going to take you to the installer screen. Yours is just doing an extra process ahead of time. I think the first thing pops up is the language. So here's a quick pop quiz from, maybe I taught you all this in the past. I don't know. I didn't teach all Linux though. Did I? What was the first Linux language translation? Redneck. There we go. Redneck. Red Hat's the first one that created the translations for the Linux operating system. And since none of the engineers knew any other language than English, but they were from Virginia, they understood redneck. So they created an English translation and translated redneck, and then it worked. And they, okay, anybody knows any other foreign language? See if this works for you. And that's how all the others come about. Okay, so yeah, we're English, United States. Yes, continue. I see some of y'all are going in setting time zone and stuff already. I'm going to look here. See, I'm going to do the localization section first. It's already picked the English keyboard. It's picked the language, the date and time. I may have to do the network first before I do the date and time. I don't know. Let me see. We don't need to worry about network time. Network time should be off because it's going to be getting it from the host. The VMware tools is going to be updating that automatically. I'm going to do AM PM here and make it a little bit easier. So you do not have to worry about network time. That's one of the cool things, because our NTP pool that we set up at the beginning of class is going to keep time on the virtual machine. That's a feature of VMware tools being installed. And click done. I'll pick the right time zone and click the AM PM button, and I click done. McGuire's in Africa.
Yeah.
Greenwich Mean Time, probably.
Huh.
You should be just click on Arkansas. Yeah.
I put Chicago, and then I thought, well, it's in the United States, and it highlighted Alaska.
Why does it have mountain time?
I don't know. Blue like mountain time. See, like.
Oh, yeah, click Central. Just click Central.
All right.
And click Arkansas again too, just to be sure. There you go. That looks good. Now you can click done. What did it say? Okay, just clicked it again. Is that an invalid time zone? Click up there close to Chicago, I guess. Yeah, now, okay, now you can click done. You're doing too many weird stuff. Okay, I'm going to go to the next section, the software. It's already got the local installation media selected, so I'm going to click on software. It's a server with a GUI. Cool. So server with the GUI, I'm going to pick guest. So agents used when running under a hypervisor. We're running under a hypervisor. We want to make sure that the hypervisor the VMware tool gets installed with it. So that needs to be checked. We also need to scroll down to what other junk do we want to play with? We want development tools checked. So guest agents checked. Development tools. Why not graphics administration? Just in case we need to change something. Sounds good. I think that's all we need. System tools. Yeah, those three things. Go and click done. We have another red section under system. Let's go and click that section. I'm going to leave it at automatic and just hit OK. I just wanted you to visually see what it was going to do and that it was set at automatic. KDump is disabled. That's good. The network. Why is it enabled on y'all system?
It's enabled on your Mr. Goodman.
Oh, it is enabled. I thought the grayed out meant it was disabled. I'm going to disable that.
Hypothetically,
Just because I don't want dumps. I don't care about them.
you can turn that off in the command line later.
I think so. Yeah, of course. It's Linux. It's a service. You can turn it off with System D, system control. I've seen KDump cause errors in my event logs and stuff for not starting up. So yeah, just turned it off on one of the Linux web servers I've got running.
Is it just the Linux version of the ADOM?
Yes. Crash dump is what it is. It tries to keep the kernel running so you can investigate a panic. But so I'm just disabling. It's optional. It doesn't really matter if it's on or not, but I'm just, the next component, I'm not a machine language engineer, so I don't know how to read dumps, so I'm just not going to take them. And I don't have tech support to call to send it to, so why fill up my hard drive if there's a crash dump? Okay, network's not connected. Yeah, we need to go ahead and pull the slider over. And that's about all we need to do. Host name, yeah, host name. Host name. We'll be the Goodman 2-01.csnt.edu. And click apply. No, your virtual machine name.csnt.edu will be your host name. That's typically what you want. You want the virtual machine names to be pretty much what the computer name is most of the time. One, computer names have to be unique on the network, and two, the virtual machines would have to be unique in the listing. So if you use computer names to match host names, it's just so much easier to look into lists and know what computer you're trying to get to. Okay, I'm going to click done. I clicked apply and it accepted that. Click done and begin installation. It should allow me to set up my root password and user accounts. And we can get that set, and then we can go to Cisco class. And when you come back Tuesday, it'll be on the screen to click finish or reboot, or you can remote in and finish if you want. But I'm going to set the root password. We used, what did we use in operating systems class? What was it? Pass 1, 2, 3, 4 for root and secret for the user, or was it secret for root?
I don't remember using secret. I think
It was secret for the root.
well, I know in Calgary, we're on.
Now I'm talking about operating systems class, not computer operating systems. I can't remember which account had secret. Is what now? And user 1 was secret? That sounds about right. Let's use pass 1, 2, 3, 4 for the root account. I want this to be exactly, remember, we're creating these for the operating systems class. That was your job role. You're an employee for our department and you're creating Linux machines for operating systems class to learn new CentOS 8. That's why we're keeping it like we did in the operating systems class. So done on that. You have to click done twice. The user accounts was sample user 1 was the full name, and the lowercase username, all letters lowercase, was user 1, and secret all lowercase was the password. We could have those backwards, but that's what we'll use this time. I think that sounds right. Again, you gotta click done twice. So the screen should show you got root password is set and user 1 will be created. And now I think it's time to, like I said, it'll just automatically finish installing and there'll be a, like, accept the license agreement at the end and a reboot. But it is getting close to Cisco time. I only got 4 minutes and it's going to take longer than 4 minutes for it to install. I'm just going to exit that out and just let it install in the background. It stays running. Kind of like Hyper-V keeps them running. And log out of my browser and so I don't know if we're going to have a quiz on Thursday or not. We'll look to see what that we can complete on the lab manual on chapter 3, which talks about virtual machines and stuff we've installed. You've already got a pre-concept of that. So we'll see how much we can cover and see if we can review for the test. It may not be next Thursday. It could possibly be the week after. We'll just have to see time-wise. And y'all can remote PC into these things, over the weekend and finish your install if you want and look around.
Okay. Yeah, take it down. Here's the new update from 10.7, it looks like.
Mr. Goodman,
Yes.
what were the add-ons again? I had gotten past there and was already installing it, so I started over and just got back to that point a minute ago.
Okay, so we picked on, not that one. Scroll up. There should be a for guests. Go up to the top. So guest agents. The one that you had clicked on is if you're going to be a virtual server. And then
Oh, okay.
so scroll down. We picked on, yeah, go towards the bottom. We picked on developer tools. And we picked on graphical administration tools right under it. So those three things is what we clicked.
Okay.
Yes, those are only three.
I will check the link from Amazon on the weekend.
We may not need them, but
I gotta jump in.
we also disabled KDump. Just uncheck the checkbox and hit done. And the network, we down there, the host name, it'd be yancey3-01.csnt.edu.
Dash CSNT.
Dot CSNT.
Oh,
Not dash.
dot CSNT.
Edu,
.edu.
edu, and then click apply.
Okay.
And then you have a slider up there to turn the Ethernet adapter on. Yeah, and click done. Now you're ready to begin install.
Okay.
Cool, I see that logged me out already. All right, did you get the username and password set?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and it's in chat. Oh, that was you.
Yeah.
Okay. So